And here we are live. Good
Yes.
evening, Karni.
Good evening, Rakefet, and it's good evening, good morning, good
And good
afternoon
afternoon.
for everybody
Depends where
around
you
the
are.
globe. Depends on where you are. Uh,
Yes.
there is a back noise, yes, which we can prevent, so we know about that. But if you're with us, please say hello, because our way to know that you're with us is by you saying hello. It will be wonderful to know your name, know where you're from, who's joining us this evening, day, morning, afternoon, and we'll start soon. So if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to take a part in this very live event.
Yes, and we are going to talk about a really, really important subject. And it's something really interesting that when we talked about it, the two of us, we started finding out more important things that we didn't even thought at the first when we just came up with the idea about doing this live. So here we are, and I see Lorena is writing to us, "Hi, ladies." So hi, Lorena. And I see more people joining us. And Ashley, hi from California.
Hi,
So hi,
Ashley, my
Ashley.
student. Oh, and Deem is here. Hi from the Netherlands, and Ashley from the US, and Aletta, my student. So I see lots of my astrology students here. It's wonderful to see you, ladies. In the meantime, just ladies. So
Well,
let's
it's open for men as well.
Yes. So we're going to talk today about so many interesting subjects. And we did this live in Hebrew a week ago, but there are more things coming in. And we're trying to cover 4,000 years in 1 hour. So we'll see how. Oh, Volkan, you're saving the day. So we have a great guy from Turkey. Hello.
And
And
Antonio.
Antonio. Wonderful. So, we're going to cover a very vast subject, and we hope to do that in 1 hour. We hope to end with lots of questions and not maybe too many answers, and to take a look at the vaster history and the astrology of the history and the lessons through history, because we're in a very, very unique time today, one of the greatest revolutions that and evolutions, we'll talk about
We'll talk about it, yeah.
that happened, and we want to see the larger context of it by looking at the past and understanding the present. So maybe, Rakefet,
Exactly.
can you tell us a few words about yourself before we start?
Yes, yes. So my name is Rakefet Beka Moses. I'm a spiritual guide and a mentor for channeling. I'm teaching channeling as well, and I'm actually channeling since I was 7 years old. And it's something that I feel that is a tool in my life, and now I'm teaching it. And I also have a lot of messages, weekly messages that I'm getting through me from the angels. And this topic actually came to me as a message that we need to talk about. And when I started exploring this topic, I found out that there are a lot of more things that I could even imagine that are so important to understand, that can help us understand this time, now, where we are now, and if it is revolution or evolution. And then I joined Karni and I asked her to join me, and then we will do this live together. And we're just going to open up to see all the lessons that I think through history you can just have a look at it and understand a lot about the time that we are in now. So this is me and Kani. I think you should introduce yourself as well.
Gladly. So, my name is Karni Zor. Both Rakefet and I live here in Israel. We also work together quite a lot with workshops and live events, but also live, yes, live Facebook and live with people. Um,
Yes, it's
and
still possible.
I've been working with astrology for 20 years now. I'm guiding people to understand their exact vocation according to the astrological chart. And I also teach astrology. Lots of my students are here with us today, which is great. And I just was nominated one of the 5 best places in the world to learn astrology at, which is even forget
Wow.
but it didn't happen in one day. It happened with many years of teaching astrology. But the thing that most people don't know about me and is very relevant to our call today is that I'm also an archaeologist and I have a master's degree in comparative religions. And these all will come together here today, I hope, with our a very, very large view of history. And we'll say hello to our friend Anna. Hi, shalom,
Hi,
Anna.
Anna.
And
She's saying
Christine.
that you are hearing the noises that I told you about
Yes,
before. Do you hear
yes,
the ticking?
yes. I hear
Like
it very,
Morse code?
I
So,
hear the Morse code, and people should know that we know about that and we don't know how to change it. So bear with us, and we do know.
it's something, it happens to me a lot during lives. It's sometimes some friend that come from Noga is coming here with us in the lives and they are ticking, and some words that I'm saying they are ticking more and then they're stopping. So so they are here. It's not anything in the computer or anything like that. It's, well, they want to join us in the live. Maybe they have something to say as well.
Yes, yes. So maybe when I'm talking, you can mute, and then there will be less noise. Let's see. Yes. Phew. But you will talk. Okay, Fit.
Okay,
Just
okay.
for a while. So I want to say hi to Nav from the UK and to Christina from Sweden. And it's really, really wonderful. And if you're here with us and didn't say hello yet, please say hello. It's wonderful to meet.
Yes, and just before we will start, you can. It will be really good if you can share this live because we are going to talk about very important subjects, and you can share it now. You can share it later, but I think that a lot of people would like to know that information that we are going to talk about today. Yes. So I think we can start. What do you think, Karni?
Yes, definitely. So
Okay.
where in history shall we start?
I
Uh,
think about the religions. What do you
okay.
think?
Yes, very,
Yes.
very good. Yes. So maybe I'll
Okay.
just give the larger context and say
Yeah.
again that these days, maybe if you want to mute in the meantime, like if it because it is. So we're in very, very unique time. Never ever the whole world stopped for 1 year. We know that if we want to change direction whilst driving, we need to slow down and stop. And this is what's happening now. And also, so the whole world really came to a pause in order to realign to another needed direction. And yes, we saw all the horrible things of the COVID, but it's a wonderful time of change. And when we look at these days chart, and I talked about it a lot, so I won't go into the depths of it, but it was a year of revolutions, and the chart really showed the conjunction between Pluto, the planet of revolution, Saturn, the planet of constraints and struggles, and Jupiter, which is the freedom. So we had constraints upon our freedom, but also it was a time of building new foundations. And Pluto means that things are now, during the last year, already started to rise, but beneath the surface, to brew beneath the surface, and soon they will rise. It's just a chart, or the astrological chart of the last year, 2020, was a chart of a revolution. And when we look at history, then we can see that in the last 300 years, there were many, many revolutions. But if we go back to, we had we'll talk about them, the Industrial Revolution, the Communicational Revolution. But if we go back to history, then in the past, there were not as many changes at all. For thousands of years, things were exactly the same. And the huge changes of the past were actually the births of new religions. And this is why we're combining religions, revolutions, and the future that we're heading to the age of Aquarius.
Yes.
Rakefet?
Yes. So I think I want to start by saying that the information that I'm going to tell you is something that I'm receiving I'm receiving as channeling, and before the live, I asked for this information about each religion. We're going to talk about 4 religions and what is the lesson of that religion in this universe now at this time, why this religion came to the world, why it was created, what was the point, what is the lesson that we came here to do. So I'm just going to say it in really short for each religion, so we can use it afterwards when we'll talk about the revolutions. So for Judaism, the lesson is actually going through the pain, through difficulties, in order to raise the frequency of the global consciousness. In order to raise the global consciousness, we need to go through difficulties, unfortunately. And the laws that we are actually dealing with is laws between man and creation, between man and God, laws of consciousness, of bringing knowledge to the world. So like you can see, like we can all see that we have channelers and we have information coming to us. So this is actually the lesson of the Judaism, bringing information from the creation to the world. It doesn't mean that in other religions there are not people that are doing it as well, but this is something that the Judaism choose to do, but they're always going through difficulties, so they always have to prove themselves. The Christian is actually going through laws between people, between humans, correcting things, okay? Correcting discrimination, work between person and their friends. And the laws are always between other people, finding the way to be equal, seeing the correction that need to be done in order to be equal, in order to be better in this world, in order to create a better world for one another. So the Islam is actually knowing the difference between good and bad, to find a balance between them, to know that they are actually completing one another and that they are not against one another. And Buddhism is being humble. It's always about being connected to the base, connected to inner peace, connected to the person himself, to find the answer within, to find the answer with the nature, to find the way to understand the creation. And when you look at each religion separately, you can see that they all have a mission, they all have a different lesson, but together they're actually completing one another. So in order for us, humanity, to learn how to grow, we complete one another by different lessons. So this is something that we need to remember, because it's not that we are in one against the other. It's not that one religion is better than the other. It's nothing like that. It's that each one have a different lesson, and together we're actually raising humanity to a new level of consciousness, to new creations. We bring ourselves to a new world each time that we go through a new lesson together as a world. It's like that in every relationship, we have 3 lessons. We have the lesson that we have with another person, for instance, from man and wife. So the woman have a lesson with her husband that she need to go through. The man have a lesson that he need to go through with his wife, and then they have a combined lesson as well. So this is the way it is also for religions. We have, each religion have its own lesson, and then they have the combined lesson that is actually raising the vibration of the world together by each one doing its own part.
Wow. Rakefet, this is absolutely really amazing. So let's see an additional way also to look at the religions, and why are we actually mentioning these amazing facts about the different religions? Because we're now at a crossroad where we're going to go into a new future. Yes. And it looks like this. And in this situation, things need to go through a keyhole, change like a spiral, and open up in a new direction. This is the waterfall card from my astrological card that also talks about the Aquarius constellation, which is the astrological realm that we're heading towards. Yes, and usually we're thinking about things coming in, but also things from the past want to go into the future. And the religions now want also to go into the future, but in order to do that, they need to understand first why they came here, what's their function, and to go through the lessons and to do it in a very, very short period of time as well.
Exactly. And we're actually going to change this whole concept of religions. It's not something that we need to keep doing. We need to find the way to change the whole concept of religion.
Yes.
We'll talk about it more later about what
Yes.
we're going through.
Yes, because we are exactly, because we are in culminating time, and all the religions and all the revolutions actually are now coming into this point of time where we are at now. And another way also to look at the four major religions that we talked about, and when, as an astrologer, when I hear the number 4, immediately I think about the 4 elements. And these 4 major religions really correlate to the 4 elements. So Buddhism is the earth element because it's all about the body and being in the present. And Judaism is very, very mental. So it's the air element, and it talks about knowledge and learning. The Christianity, heart-based, is a very emotional water element religion. And Islam is fire, which talks about energy and very high spirituality. And actually, every religion came here to do something good at the start. We know that many bad things later on evolved as people took on the religions and, diverted it into other horrible things. But originally, new religion means that new energy is entering planet Earth, either through a messenger, a person, or a collective receives it sometimes, and something is right and something hits a note. So there are many people following it, and every time a new religion happened, it talked about a new attempt of God to create something good here and to bring the human race to the next level. So we had these 4 major religions trying to build our 4 bodies. And as we describe it, we also understand that these 4 religions need to learn how to work together, because you can't evolve only with your physical body, mental body, emotional body, or spiritual body. Yes, you need to have the whole 4. So one of our lessons here on planet Earth at this time is really to learn how to work together.
Yes, and there's actually, you will see now that we'll talk about the revolutions, that there are actually 3 major lessons. And one of them is learning to be equal, learning that we are all equal, and we have that lesson in a lot of revolutions. The second is that we are all connected, and you will see also that they are also in a lot of revolutions. And third is proving ourselves, who we are, knowing who we are, and proving ourselves that we can be by ourselves, but at the same time, we are equal. We are all connected. So this is the 3 major lessons that we all have as humanity. And now that we will talk about the revolutions, you will see how they are reflected in each revolution.
Yes.
Yes. You didn't send me the chart that you want to show.
And no, I can share the screen. I'm preparing it now. Let's see that I can actually do that. Share screen.
So we're going to talk first. First, we're going to talk about the printing revolution and the scientific revolution, right? So that's what you're going to show now?
Yes, I'm just trying to find the right screen. You tell me what revolutions we want to talk about, and I'll show
the printing revolution and the scientific revolution.
Sure. Okay, let's start with that. So if you want, we can share the screen or later on.
Okay, let's see. Yep, here it is.
Okay, wonderful. So, do you want to say a few words about the revolution? I'll just explain that.
You can start and then I'll say.
Wonderful. Okay. So we have lots of charts here, and we'll take a look at lots of them later during the session. And here we have the situation of the skies at the time of the printing revolution and the time of the science revolution, which was about 100 years apart. Now, this is many people here maybe do not know even how an astrological chart looks like. So what we're having here is the situation in the skies at a certain time. Here it's January 1436, and what we're seeing here is the celestial bodies, the sun, the moon, all the other celestial bodies. But when we're talking about major events that took time during history, we're actually looking at the very slow moving planets, which is Pluto, the planet of the transformation revolutions. This will be the main actor here, and we'll see in which sign it is. And we're also looking at Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, but mainly Pluto is the planet of transformation and a revolution. Now, if we're looking at the science revolution, this was, and we have to say that the printing revolution, what we mean, yes, is that at that time, 1436, the print was invented by Gutenberg, and things were started, instead of being handwritten, to be printed. First, it was the Bible that was printed, but the fact that books started to appear and people could share information was a very, very important stage in history, step in history. And only 100 years later, we have the science revolution, 1543, and we can see that these two are very, very highly connected. So, for example, we can see that Jupiter was in Libra at these two times, and Libra talk about the power of our mind and our ability to invent things, and also to do with communication. And the interesting thing is that during the science revolution, Pluto was in Aquarius, and we'll see later on that in major times of change, also in the French Revolution that we'll talk about later on, Pluto was in the sign of Aquarius, and we're heading, this is the chart of today, Pluto is at the end of Capricorn, heading towards Aquarius again. And Aquarius is the sign of innovation, new thoughts, new inventions, technology. So it's quite amazing that the planet of revolutions was there during the science revolution. But we need to remember that everything works in synchronicity and in cycles. It couldn't have happened without the print revolution before that.
Well, so it's not surprising. It's not surprising because the lesson that we had at that time was actually to explore, to learn new things about ourselves, to learn new tools, to learn where to look at, what are the things that we have to find out. Like it was like a baby was born and he started to find out that there is more things behind what he can see. You know, that they say that babies at first, they cannot see so far. They can see just something that it's very close to them and can see it in spots. And then he find out that he can see a lot more. So this is the lesson that we had at that time. Exploring, finding out new things about what we can do, new tools, new abilities that we have. And it's actually something that we also have now, finding new abilities that we have, but we'll get to it as well. So
yes,
this
yes, and already now we can see how all these revolutions that preceded this time are now in extreme. Yes, what a scientific revolution we're having these days, right? With lots of breakthroughs. I don't know if they're good or bad, but it's a whole other discussion. And the print and the media. So things that were seeded back then are now really
Fast
becoming
forward.
exactly a jungle.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, completely. So let's talk about the French Revolution and the Industrial Revolution.
Yes. So, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we have now, it's one beneath the other. We have here the Industrial Revolution and the French Revolution, which uh, both happened quite just 30 years apart from one another. So let's start with the Industrial Revolution. So we're talking about the fact that we need to have all four elements in the game. So we had the print and the science, which is the mental area. Yes, with learning, being able now to have access to more knowledge in a way, and then the science really emerged because people were able to learn to read. The next stage is the Industrial Revolution, which means that now there are real technical changes, and the transformation during the this revolution, the Industrial Revolution, is not just the transformation of knowledge. It's actual lots of trains and ships moving around, shifting matter from place to place. And there were huge innovations this time, not just of ideas and of learning, but of actual industry and technology. And the world started to see new ways to build and to move, and cars and trains and so many things that really started to happen during this time. And Pluto, the planet of transformation, at the Industrial Revolution was in the sign of Sagittarius, which is a sign of learning, but also of traveling, changing places, expanding scope. So there was lots of movement, but now not just of ideas, but of actual things taking place. And this led later on, so 40 years after that, Pluto moved from Sagittarius to Aquarius, where the revolution came from the matter to actual people, because the French Revolution was the revolution of people understanding that they are free. This was a change in thought patterns and ways people perceived governments, because till then the king was the authority, and the French Revolution said, no, 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 the people are the major thing that we need to focus in. And this was absolutely huge. And Aquarius talks about the individuality. We're heading also towards the age of Aquarius. Yes. So we're talking a lot about Aquarius. Aquarius equals innovation, revolutions, but also the individual, the ability of each person to innovate, to be free, to be unique. And this is what happened during the French Revolution, when the power moved to the individual for the first time, actually, in history, after many, maybe it was in the primitive tribes before that, but in the modern history of countries and monarchs, this was the first time that people had the freedom to be who they are.
Yes, I just love doing the lives with you, because all the time that you're showing things on the chart, I just say, it's exactly what they're saying. So yes. So let's talk about the lesson of this revolutions. Is actually talking about the person knowing who he is, exploring who he is, just the basic knowledge that I am worth something. I am equal to someone else. Like you said, normally the king was the one that decided everything. So something completely different is going on then. You need to find out who you are. Why are you here? What is your contribution to the world? So this is the main lesson that they were talking about. Who am I? Am I equal to other people? And why am I here? Why am I here? What am I here to do? Why did I come to this world? So this is the lesson of these two revolutions, finding out who you are, what is your contribution. And when he wants to learn what he can give, he first needs to learn how to accept also. So when they are accepting their rights and learning their abilities, it's something that it's difficult for both ways. I mean, first of all, to get acknowledged that you have rights, and then to find out what you can do with them. And then what do I want to contribute to the world? It's just not just accepting my rights. I need to bring something out of myself as well. So this is the lesson of these two revolutions at this time. And as you can see, again, as we talked about at the beginning, it's knowing who you are, to be equal, and that you are connected. So here it starts that you need to prove yourself as well. I know that I'm equal. I'm starting to realize that, but I need to prove myself now. So who am I? Who am I? Why am I here?
It's so closely connected to astrology as well, because the house or the life territory that is connected to Aquarius is the house of vocation. And this means that you need to recognize your individual self and your unique brightness, but then understand that what you do actually helps the world and radiates something to the world. So it's so important.
That you are affecting the entire world, even though that it seems that you are just you and just in a small, in your small place that you live in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about the social revolution and the feminist revolution.
Yes. So it means I need to share my screen.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So the next revolutions are the social revolution, which is here, and the feminist revolution. And we're following Pluto, yes, because everything is a cycle. So we saw that it started during the Industrial Revolution when Pluto was in Sagittarius, and it allowed transformation of matter. And then people found their individuality when Pluto was in Aquarius. And about 40 years after that, Pluto is in Aries, and many things happened when Pluto is in Aries, because Aries, as Aquarius, is another very important sign, because it's the first sign of the zodiac. And this is where the revolutions hit another level and another note. And Aquarius talks about the general sense of me, but Aries talks about the individual, really me. And it's amazing that first it was very general, that during the French Revolution, the French got their freedom. And of course, from there or before that, America got her freedom from the United Kingdom. And many countries started to understand that as countries, they need to have their freedom, which has very much to do with Aquarius. But Pluto in Aries now goes even a level deeper and talks about the individual, no matter in what country you live. And the social revolution is quite an amazing concept that was never before in history. And this was a time where people all over started to understand that people have rights, and it started equality, and it started ending of slavery, and it started so many things that really went a level deeper to the emotional level of we have our own rights. And with that, yes, just 10 years later, the feminist revolution of course, talked about a whole half of society that didn't have any rights before that could be joining. And we need to understand that these are only seeds, because it it took many years, centuries even, to come to this stage. But then, of course, it took a whole more amount of time for people all over the world, as we have now, no matter what your color, no matter what your gender is, to have equal rights. But these were the starting points of these times, Pluto. And this was 200 years ago, and Pluto is now almost done, almost a whole new cycle. So the last 200 years were about going deeper into this revolution. And it's quite amazing to think that only 100 years, it took so many time for women to get the right to vote. Women only vote 100 years, which is, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and at the same time, yes, we're having also, or just to say that, for example, the social revolution, it took 100 years after that, at 1948, which I don't have the chart of here, for social care to appear in the world. So things are starting, but then they need their slow brew. And the communication revolution, also with Pluto here, is another a burst of the transformations that we started to see as print started, with being able to transmit messages and ideas faster. And communication revolution is a time where photography started, the radio started, newspapers started. And of course, we're stating all of that because during this time, where the X, yes, is what we're talking about, all of the communication is going to a whole other quicker level, as
It's a new level completely, because that lesson is actually a very important lesson, because it's really the base of the lesson that we are having now. The lesson was just connecting all the dots, knowing that the whole is better than separate parts, that we are whole completed, we are all one, and we need to see ourselves as a whole. And when you look at the body, you don't want to say my hands are better than my legs. You want to say my body is completed and is together, is getting stronger. So you don't want to work only on your arms. You want to work on all your body, and that's the lesson then. To know that we are all connected, to know that we are all, you need to be united, and that we are all equal, and to want it to be equal. Because when you know that you are a complete full body, like you said at the beginning about the religions, you want it to be equal, because you want the body to be strong, and the body will be strong only if you take care of all of its parts. And this is a really basic lesson for us, because on these days, as you started to say, we are all, the whole world is experiencing now the COVID-19, and it's really doesn't matter who ate what where, okay, because it affected all of us, and we all need to know now how we are going to deal with it. And you see different ways to deal with the COVID-19 in different countries, but we are all trying to learn from one another, because we don't know the solution. We don't know that there is only one solution that is great and everyone needs to do it. We are trying to figure out, and the entire world is in this situation now. And this is really something that is kind of, as you said, is taking us to the next level, because when we accept that we want to take care of the whole body, of all society, whole humanity, not just people that are like us, then we are starting a new level also of consciousness. As we said at the beginning, every time that we go through through a new revolution, we're going to a higher level of consciousness. And this was a really big step, as we are now. We're just we're jumping now. It's a quantum jump, actually.
Yes, it's a quantum jump, and things that spread out through thousands of years and the last 400 years are now coming to a peak. And we see that the individual individuality and individual rights. This is the first time where you can buy a bicycle which is designed specifically for you. You can choose the color of the wheel and the color of of the handles, and the concept of individuality. Once people were just the subjects of the king, never even thought about as people, or slaves, or the women. You didn't even think about their individuality. And today the individuality is so extreme, but of course, thank God for that. Yes.
Yes.
And also communication. When we're talking about communication, we see now
We are all connected.
science fiction of both of us sitting in other places, talking to people from all over the world. Right? This is quite an amazing concept.
This is really connecting all the dots.
Exactly.
Like, you're connecting all the dots, the communication, the really, really big jump that we did in the communication, the revolution is connecting all the dots all around the world. We are connected. Yes.
And this is quite amazing, because we're ending now a very big cycle of 2,160 years, which was the age of Pisces, which we were in the last 2,160 years. We're towards the end of it. It didn't really finish. It will take another 350 years. It sounds a lot, but it's very, very little, till we're entering a new era, which is the age of Aquarius. It goes backwards. Yeah? So 4,000 years ago, it was the age of Aries. 2,000 years ago, Pisces. Now we're heading towards a whole new age, which is the age of Aquarius. And the age of Aquarius talks about the individuality, talks about science, talks about finding your vocation, but also connecting the dots, and also talks about closing. We're at the time of closing one big cycle of 2,000 years, and everything now from the past comes accelerated, wanting to find its resolution, its solution, and jump into the next level with us. We're in very, very, very interesting times. And I'll also say just a quick hello to Joanne that joins us from the Netherlands, and my astrology student Carrie. Hi, good to see you.
Yes. Hi. I want to talk about the world wars, World War I and II, and also bombing Hiroshima, because that was something that actually was kind of trying to tell us, pay attention. You're talking about equal, but now we were talking about self-proving ourselves, and then what happened is that small populations were like linked as that they are something wrong with them and they need to disappear from the world. And these wars actually affected the entire world. I mean, it was a lesson to all together, a lesson of find individual populations and knowing that they are unique, each and every one of them. So if we talked about before, we talked about the lesson that we are all equal. So this lesson is actually coming to us again in a different kind of ways. Okay, you look like us, so fine, you're equal, but no, not you. Okay, not you're specifically, even though you're the same color as us, you are not the same as us, so we can bomb you, so we can just destroy the entire Judaism and all other populations as well. So this lesson actually really came to the world in order to show us that there is still work to be work to do, because we are not ready yet to be equal. I think we're still doing a lot of work there, but it's something that we really had to prove ourselves. So if I said at the beginning that we have a lesson of being equal and connected, and then to proving ourselves, so even small populations had to show that they are important, that they are unique, that they cannot be destroyed, it cannot be damaged from the world. So do you have also, yeah? Wait, I don't hear you. Karni?
Sorry?
You're
Yes, I
mute.
was muted. Yes, I would love to share the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and let's see if I can. Just a minute. Okay. When I go, oh, can you see that? When I
Yeah. With the yeah,
with
I
the
can see
mouse.
it
Great,
with the
wonderful.
mouse.
Okay. So let's talk about the world wars, yes, because it's absolutely important to talk about that and also to see that uh, the world isn't going, nicely up the hill. No, no, no. We have so many lessons to learn, so many ups and downs, so many horrible things that happened. So this chart is actually the chart of today, the 4th of March, 2021. And we can see here that Pluto is in Capricorn, Saturn and Jupiter are in Aquarius. But during 2020, Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter were all together in a Capricorn. And Pluto and Saturn are two major influences. Pluto, we follow all the time because it's the planet of revolutions. Saturn is the planet of constraints, but also the planet of fundamentals and governments and big, huge things. And when we look at history, we see that every time these two conjunct, and this was the chart of 2020, Pluto and Saturn together, also with Jupiter in conjunction, every time they conjunct, amazing, not that nice things happened. Sometimes nice, sometimes not nice. So the one of these times was 1917. Pluto and Saturn conjunct at the beginning of World War One, which is transformation, Pluto, in the most fundamental things, because World War One caused a shift of so many things. It caused later on a shift in countries and in governments and ways of governments, because before that, almost all of Europe was monarchies and it was all different, and new countries and new ways of government started to happen, and it gave another whole boost to the industrial revolution with so many invention and airplanes and bombs and horrible things. But it was a huge time of transformation. And the next time Pluto and Saturn were in conjunction in history, I'll stop sharing now, was in after 1917. They were together at 1948, which was the birth year of Israel, which is very interesting because World War One actually led to World War Two. They were very related. The World War II was the cause of Germany losing in World War One, and the way it lost and the way the world handled it, and this caused many things, and eventually the horrible World War II and the Holocaust. Then it's interesting that the next Pluto Saturn conjunction was at the year that Israel was had its independence and was created, but also the year where worldwide social affairs and social standards and rights of people started all over the world, which is really amazing. And the next time it happened, the Pluto and Saturn conjunction, was 1983, which is the year of the birth of the internet. Were you born then, Rakefet? You're
No,
nodding.
84.
Ah, okay. We close enough. It might be the
Yeah.
same. So 1980, you're a baby. So
Oh, yeah.
1983 was the birth year, not of Rakefet, but of the cellular phone, the internet, and Microsoft, which is really mind-boggling. And the next time is now, during 2020, that this conjunction happened. And what we're seeing is an acceleration. Revolutions that were 100 years apart are now starting to be quicker and quicker, closer and closer.
Closer.
It reminds us as a water boils, yes, and the heat starts and things are starting to bubble and the particles are getting very, very quick. So this is the time that we are at now.
Wow.
And yes, and
Yeah.
hello to Eleni from
Then,
Cyprus. Good to have you here.
yes. So as you explained, we are really in fast forward. We really feel that like every year now a lot of things happen. If we will think about last year in January, you remember that we did the live together then, and we did the live together in January 2020, and we talk about major things that are going to happen, but we couldn't imagine how big they're going to be and how will they affect the entire world. We knew that it was something big, but we didn't imagine that. So everything now is really happening really, really fast. And this is actually when we are at now, and what we are going to experience even the next month. So as you know, the 21st of March is actually the day of equal, right?
The equinox.
Equinox.
It
Okay.
actually happens this year, the 20th, on the 20th of March, the
On the
equinox.
20th. Okay. So one of the messages that I have received is about this date until the 4th of April, that it's going to be really major changes in the skies in the entire world, and that we really need to be connected to our truth in that time. So even though we might hear some news that we don't like, even though people might tell us things that might even scare us, we need to be connected to our inner truth, to our inner peace, and to know that we are taken care of by the skies, and that everything is going to work for our higher benefit, and really to be in a lot of faith there, because there are major changes that are happening now. They are happening really fast in Israel. At these 2 weeks, I think it's something like 2 weeks, even less. We also have the elections. We have Passover. I think it's also Easter at that time. So it's really time of changes, and it's the beginning of spring, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So it's a lot of things that are happening and changing in nature, but we need to know that it's going to be for our higher benefit, and they really want us to be connected to inner peace and to find the quiet inside of us, even though things around us might seem scary or might seem that they are not unknown. The unknown sometimes scares us, so not to go there, to make sure that we know that we are secure, that we are okay.
I absolutely agree, first of all. One thing is, if you can mute for a second, Rakefet,
Yeah.
because just as you started to talk, you said before these noises that we hear are your friends from Venus. So as everything was quiet till now, and as you started to talk now, and it felt like an amazing transmission, what you're saying, the the noise started, and it really, I think it's a good sign that it was an amazing transmission, and things are going high in the wires. And I really agree with everything that you say, and this is what we happens with us all of the time. You get these amazing messages, and I'm saying, wow, but this is absolutely correct astrologically, astronomically. So I just absolutely agree with everything that you said. The next big happening is the spring equinox, March 20th, which is actually the beginning of a new astrological year, because the astrological cycle starts at the spring equinox here in the North Hemisphere, March 20th. And last spring equinox, exactly, I don't remember if last year it was 20 or 21st because it changes, but exactly at that day, the whole world went into quarantine together. The equinox, equal, pause, stop, change direction. And at this coming equinox, we're ending a cycle of 365 days of the COVID astrological chart, or the chart where Pluto, the planet of revolutions, was in conjunction to Saturn and to Jupiter. This actually was what we experienced during the whole last year, and something in us can't believe that things are going to change, because we're really post-traumatized or not even post, we're traumatized. Yes, that we can't really understand how things will change, but things are definitely going to open, to change, and astrologically as well, exactly these dates that you were talking about, which is amazing. This is why I love working with you, Rakefet. Exactly the same dates from the spring equinox, even from now till the middle of April. Jupiter is, and exactly I think the 1st of April, Jupiter is getting enough distance from Saturn after being close to it. And Jupiter is the planet of freedom, and Saturn, it restrained our freedom for a whole year. And now Jupiter, the planet of freedom, will get far enough from Saturn, from the constraints, for new things to start to happen. And things are going to be new. And I know that people are feeling, yes, Rakefet, please, yes.
Oh, wait, okay. So I just remembered that the last initiation that I did, I'm doing the initiation at the very beginning of the Hebrew month. And the last one, they were talking about, when I'm saying they, I'm talking about the angels and the light entities that I am channeling. And they were talking about that when they want things to change in our world, they are changing the vibration in the core of the earth. And the core of the earth is related to the skies, and is connected by, I don't know how exactly, but they were talking about vibrations of the world, gravity, yeah. So it's sending different vibrations to the gravity to the skies and to the stars, in order to them to shift and to move, so that we can read what they are changing and understand what is going to happen. So they said, if I will send you the information, not everyone will believe, but a lot of people do understand astrology and astronomy. So we are changing the core of the earth in order to change the gravity of the stars in the sky, so that you can read it in knowledge that you understand. And you just talked about it, and I was amazed. I just remembered that they said that.
Mm-hmm. And things are happening. Things are happening all the time with Earth's gravity, and with the polarity of Earth. Scientifically, things are happening all the time, which is absolutely, absolutely amazing.
Yes. So there is a question that we haven't answered yet. And by the way, if you have questions, just feel free to write
Yes,
them down.
please write your questions or remarks, and don't forget your likes and loves and comments. So
Yes, and shares as well. So there is a question that we haven't answered yet. So are we now in a revolution or evolution?
good question.
What do you think? Write down your answers as
Yes,
well.
write down your answer. We'll give it a minute. Evolution, you
Yes.
can even write just E or R.
Are.
Evolution
Yes.
or revolution. Let's see what,
Let's see what you think. Yeah.
yes, what the polls are, and it takes us another minute to
We'll tell you what we think in a few seconds, but we really want to know what you think as well.
yes. So
What is Schumann resonance?
uh,
Eleni writes both.
but Eleni says both. I don't know what is Schumann resonance, but I'll check it up later on. Joanne is also my a good long years ago astrology student of mine, which is wonderful, and a friend. So Deem says both too.
Both, but then she writes, I guess, more evolution.
Okay. So I think people are afraid from being wrong, which is part of how the education system should be changed, amongst many other things.
Yes, there are no grades here. There's no right and wrong.
Yes, no
It's just
rights
what
and
you
wrongs.
think.
We're just interested. Yes. So Christina
Evolution.
says evolution, and yes, yes, yes. So let's say yes. Please add your answers if you want. I don't know if you know what is the scientific, and you can write your answer whilst I'm talking. What is the scientific הגדרה? Definition, thank you. Definition. We changed spots now.
Yeah, it was nice for a second there.
The scientific definition of evolution. So the scientific definition of evolution is that, so Joanne says evolution is ever union or something like that, which is, I love that. So the scientific definition of revolution is where the change is such that it can't go back to what it was before. Okay, so we can, for example, change our dress codes, or become vegetarians or whatever, but we can always change that back if we want. But when an animal goes out of the water and changes its
his body, and he cannot breathe anymore inside the water.
His something which I don't remember. It's something which I don't remember its name, but fish has it. 2 lungs. This is evolution, because this animal can't go back to the sea. This is the definition of evolution, that things can go back to what they were. And I definitely believe that we're at a time of revolution heading towards an evolution, that we can't go back to how things were. And people ask me all the time, when will things go back to normal? And I'm saying things don't go back. This time doesn't go back, but we also don't want to go back. And things weren't normal anyhow. So yay, we're heading forwards towards a future. So yes, I said can't. So cannot go back to how they were before. And now we're in a cycle of revolution, and we saw that there's lots of changes in the world that already happened, and now new cycles are accelerating, but we're heading towards a stage where we will not be able to go back.
So we need to know that in order to understand it, we need to build now a new infrastructure, right?
Exactly, new foundation.
Because we're not going back. We're heading straight forward, and it might feel sometimes like it's this way, but not straight. But we are going forward. So we need to build new structures in order to really, really go to a new beginning of a new world, and not going back. We're not going back.
Yes. And yes, and Carrie says more awakening. So yes, and the tip for you, the clue, what you can take from this meeting is also to think in you. Yes, what are the things that happened in the last year for yourself, and you don't want to go back from what happened there, your resolutions, your changes, and what kind of new infrastructure, what kind of foundations do you need now to make sure that you're equipped to move to the next stage and not go back to how things were. Yes, okay.
I'll give you the questions that the angels are asking us. They're asking us 2 things. Have we learned to treat ourselves with love? This is the first question. And if we did, how? Okay, what helped us treat ourselves with love? And the second thing is that they ask us to ask ourselves what we want to bring from ourselves to the world. What inside of us do we want to bring to the world in order to create that new world? Because this is something that we need to pay attention to, because if we'll keep doing the same things that we did before, we'll get the same results. And they really, really want us to find new answers to that question.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. And it's amazing how your angels are ticking.
They have a lot to say.
I see that, so please let them.
Well, there's a lot of things that they want us to pay attention to at this time, because it's so easy to go to the places that we feel the emotions that we are used to feel, and they really want us to evolve from that and to find new ways to express ourselves and new ways to understand what we experience, that we are not experiencing what we have experienced before. They're not trying to scare us. What happened to the world now, it's not something bad. It's something good for our high benefit, for the entire humanity. And when they ask us to look at things differently, they really ask us to understand that the new point of view that we will find, it's the way that we will create the world. So we want to find new point of view, and they say this is why we're asking you if you have found more love to yourself. Have you treated yourself with more love? Because this is what we want to create in our world. The equality that we talked about, the connection that we talked about, to prove ourselves, but we want to do it all together, not on the other person's behalf, or to make another person feel less than us. We want to be equal because we see equal in other people as well. It's not just something like that you say, sisma.
Slogan.
It's not a slogan that you say. It's something that you need to experience inside of you, that I feel equal to another person and I'm not trying to show that I'm better than him. So this is something that we learn now, how to be united, and we'll start with that. We will know how to appreciate love.
Yes. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful note to close with. I think what you're saying is absolutely important. I think that when we love ourselves, we can love other people. And when it's not just we're equal, but also everybody is absolutely unique. And this is the beauty. So love your uniqueness, love the uniqueness of other people. And this is what will make our world change, because we know now that the change and the needed revolution and evolution won't come from an outer source like a government that will fix things for us. It will only, we're heading towards the age of Aquarius, which is the age of individuals, and everybody is the new Messiah, and everybody's unique, and everybody's special. And when we know that we are the ones who make the changes, and look around you, other people are also the ones who are making the changes. Love yourself for that. Love other people for that. This is how the world can change.
Yes, and Dim, I see that you're asking if we can share the questions. So of course, share the questions, share the live, share everything. I have the weekly messages. Feel free to watch them, to share them. They're not just for me, they're for everyone. I'm just the channel.
Yes, so please, first of all, write your likes, your hearts, share this message, forward this whole thing or parts of it, how you see fit, to other people, because it's so important for these messages to go out to the world. And of course, I really recommend visiting Rakefet's contents about how to become a channeler and connect to your own guide. So there's a link here that you can see. And if you want to be an astrology student, if you want to become a certified astrologer, then take a look at my astrology school. And even if you're seeing this afterwards, feel free to leave your comments and your questions, because we're looking at it and responding. Let's see. So yes. So a lot is happening. Ashley says that a lot is happening in the world with people turning more towards spirituality and astrology. And she's been trying to figure out how she's supposed to be and help at this times. And this led you to my school, Ashley. I'm so touched to hear that. And thank you, everybody. And yes, just continue to be your bright self and help people.
And really, really important for us to keep sharing the love, sharing the information that make us feel really good, and just keep on sharing it. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for being with us, and thank you, Karni.
Thank you, Rakefet. So wonderful.
Thank you, Venus guys.
TikToking guys.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So goodbye until soon. We'll for sure meet again together. Bye-bye.
Yes, goodbye. Good night. Bye.